Now, QC the label, also known as Quality Control Music, is the most powerful and most successful hip-hop label / management company in the game right now. Now, they got two of the biggest acts in the game as well. They've got the Migos, which is an Atlanta-based hip-hop supergroup that's arguably the biggest hip-hop group on the planet. They're two-time Grammy Award nominees, and they got 3 studio albums, 12 mixtapes, and 47 singles with multi-platinums on a lot of their projects. You got Lil Baby, who is the hottest new rapper in the game. He's been recently on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. He's got 2 multi-platinum albums of his own, classic collab mixtapes, and just established his 4PF, which is short for 4 Pockets Full record label on his own. As mentioned before, QC is the most successful label in the South. They've got a packed roster full of very talented artists that get worldwide exposure. And they're also well connected to the streets, which gives them that edge that makes them very successful. Now, with all that going for them, why are the 2 biggest acts on the label allegedly at a war between each other, which has gone to the streets on multiple occasions? It seems that the QC roster as a family and as a unit has somewhat become a facade because of the recent actions of some of the members who they manage. Now, for a burgeoning hip-hop label in the South with multiple acts who are all successful and a lot to be done, it seems like it would be a daunting task to try to keep control of everyone on your roster. But it seems like things in the background have pointed to some of the people involved in the label adding to or even fueling the flame of this ongoing beef. Alright, so the first signs that there was some type of beef between these 2 acts happened in March of 2020 when Offset was allegedly jumped in the parking lot of a popular nightclub called Compound in Atlanta. And he was jumped allegedly because of some overdue gambling debts. Now, it is alleged that he owed one of Lil Baby's friends and a member of the 4PF crew $75,000 from a dice game that he had lost. There's multiple videos circling around the internet that shows Offset in an altercation in a parking lot with somebody, and you can visibly see Lil Baby after the effects, and he's walking around pacing. You can also hear what is said to be Lil Baby, and you can't tell if this has been doctored or not, but Lil Baby is saying that we are supposed to be family because him and Offset have always had a good relationship. It seemed within the QC family, Lil Baby originally had a really good relationship with most of the members of the Migos. Now, Offset is said to have been jumped, and I'm not sure if the gambling debt was ever paid, but this definitely drew a line in the sand between these 2 crews. After the Compound incident, nothing was said on social media by either of these camps, so you can't tell if things were put to bed or not. It seemed like after the Compound incident, the QC management got things under control. And then in July 2020, disaster struck.
In Atlanta overnight and in the early morning hours as the city works to combat a spike in violent crime since the 4th of July weekend. Now, first, police say someone shot and killed a man in a single vehicle wreck on the interstate. It happened on I-285 near the Benjamin E. Mays drive overpass, and it was around 11:30 Saturday night. Investigators believe the victim, Rudolph Johnson, was the intended target of that gunfire. Well, they're also working to determine the circumstances surrounding that shooting. There are several reports this afternoon that the victim was a well-known Atlanta rapper, Lil Marlo. NBC News says the Fulton County Medical Examiner confirmed the death. Several in the hip-hop community have taken to social media to offer their condolences.
As the news report suggested, Lil Marlo, who was also the best friend of Lil Baby, was gunned down on Atlanta Highway, creating a lot of controversy about the situation and giving a shocking blow to the Southern hip-hop label. And then an even bigger blow came when the Migos, the premier group at the label, filed a lawsuit against the QC label attorney. Now, in this lawsuit, they allege that the attorney had been withholding funds from them in the millions of dollars and allegedly had been giving that money to themselves and to the QC, the label. So this sparked a lot of rumors about the Migos actually leaving QC after all this time. So this is a major blow because the Migos have been with QC, the label, since the label began. They're a guaranteed cash cow for the label, and they provide a lot of the opportunities that created the label to burgeon and be the biggest hip hop label that it is today. So with them upset and them taking to the media with the lawsuit, QC CEO P, he had to make a response. So he responded on social media, and he basically refuted all the claims that the Migos had made and let it be known that everything was negotiable, alluding a lot of people to believe even the Migos exit from QC the label. But think about it, you're QC the label, and one of the biggest acts in the world is thinking about leaving. How would you handle the situation? A lot of people think that QCP and Coach took to the streets. Now, QC the label has very tight working relationships with a lot of the street guys. Lil Baby and a lot of the folks on the label have ties to the streets that are still binding. So it is alleged and rumored that P told Lil Baby, who is like a son to him, to go in and put some work. Now, several days after the announcement of the lawsuit, it is alleged that Takeoff was dining in downtown Atlanta, and while exiting, ran into Lil Baby and the 4PF crew. Now, it is also alleged that the 4PF crew chased him around a vehicle, cornering him and allegedly attacking him. It's been alleged by a lot of the blog sites and a lot of the internet critics that Lil Baby himself also took part in this attack. So the news of this attack spread like wildfire. So imagine the hottest artist in the game and the hottest group in the game, and they can't get along to the point where they're putting hands and feet on each other, and folks are getting jumped, and it's really going down in street business. So this says a lot about QC as a label. Was this whole QC the family a facade? Was this just something that they dreamed up so they could push to their artists to take advantage of them on the back end? There's a lot of questions swirling around, and a lot of people have these questions that are talking on social media. You've got the blog sites talking, you've got a lot of the media critics talking, but someone who isn't talking are the QC heads. That's P and Coach. Throughout this situation, it seems like they've maintained their silence. They seem to be sticking to the G code and keeping it real as far as not talking about street business. You really can't fault them for that, because street business tends to go onto the mainstream and get people locked up and bad things coming down. QC runs their label like a legitimate business, so from that point in perspective, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt. They're probably handling a lot of this behind the scenes, but when you got two very young camps going back and forth, things can spiral out of control easily. Now, there's also plenty of rumors that this all spans from jealousy, that the Migos are actually jealous at the recent success of Lil Baby. Lil Baby has taken off his career to proportions that nobody ever thought that he would see, and heights that nobody ever thought he would see. He's currently on the cover of the Rolling Stone magazine. He is definitely the hottest artist in the game, and he dropped a single that's the backdrop to a movement that's going on presently in today's society. Things are looking up for Lil Baby, and things are still looking up for the Migos. They're still the biggest group in hip hop, and they've got millions of fans that can't wait for their newest release. They've got a heavy rotation of music that's still currently being played, and folks just love the Migos, to be honest. QC as a label is a monster, and as a management company, they're a monster too. Now, in the South, to have those ties with the streets seems like a necessary evil, and it seems like one of the things that's propelled this QC the label, QC the management company to the heights that it is today. But if the Migos were ever to leave QC the label, that is a huge chunk of their revenue stream going out the door to another label. I don't know where that could be beneficial for anybody's future planning. So I know as a label and as the label heads, they're probably doing anything they can to make sure that they remain on the roster and remain happy. Now, also recently, Cardi B, who is married to one of the members of the Migos, Offset, took to social media and said that she no longer has a management company. She was previously managed by QC, the management company, and attended their annual pool party and annual blowout bash for the Super Bowl. So Cardi B leaving seems like it's going to be in conjunction with Offset and the Migos leaving. So as a label, it would behoove QC to get this thing together and not try to handle this in the streets. It just seems like a dangerous combination with the backdrop of what's going on in Atlanta today, that they have their artists out there on the front lines. We've seen this go wrong in hip hop many a time before. Now, I'm not going to mention any of those labels due to the fact that they're very bad luck, but with that being said, what's the overall win for QC here? Should they continue to handle things in the streets allegedly? Or can they come to a resolve with the Migos that can see them either leave or stay and everybody still stay fat and happy?